Around Kansas, we are looking ahead to the 200th anniversary of the Santa Fe Trail. Next, you've seen Porcupines getting their views on social media, so today Deb puts a little Kansas spin on it. On the front porch, a look at Wakanda Springs. Then Ron Wilson takes us on a poetic adventure of the Flint Hills, and we end with a look at one tasty Southeast Kansas tradition from our good friend Michelle Martin.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Welcome to Around Kansas. I'm Deb Goodrich. Hope you're warm and cozy this morning. Or maybe like Farmer Stan, you're already out doing the chores and you'll watch this later. But hope December is being kind to you. I know that we're all hopeful that 2021 is a better year. 2020 has been so challenging for many of us and tragic for some, and just lift each other up in our thoughts and prayers and look with hope to better times ahead. I think I said it last week or the week before, but it bears repeating. This came to pass. And no matter what it is, it came to pass. So that's always a comforting thought for me. And when we look to 2021, of course, something that's on my mind as chair of the 200th anniversary of the Santa Fe Trail is that historic moment. And we have expanded, actually, the official commemoration. So it will run from 2021 through 2025. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Part of it, of course, is the challenge of dealing with COVID. And that's caused a lot of events to be postponed or canceled in the early part of the year. And we don't want anybody to be left out. So those events that are already being rescheduled for 2022 will still be part of the official commemoration. And the events of 2021, the fall of 1821, the events that will be marked in 2021 were the opening of the trail. So it was like William Becknell's first successful trip to Mexico that fall. But a lot of things happened after that. He didn't return to Missouri until 2022, early in the year. And then things just keep mushrooming as more and more traders make that trip. Then eventually you get traffic going both ways. So Mexican traders begin coming to the United States in 1825. And the Sibley Survey occurs in 1825. And what that does is makes the Santa Fe Trail a real road. So there's a lot of time to mark this significant anniversary and find the connections. In fact, I just got an email from Michael Martin Murphy, who is our honorary chairperson, with a map that explains part of the Republic of Texas and its connection to the Santa Fe Trail. And he, as a Texan, was pretty tickled about that, to see that finally being touted and acknowledged. And no matter where you are, you've got a connection to the trail. Your little piece on the map, your little spot on the map has some kind of connection to the Santa Fe Trail. I guarantee you, the cities of the East, New York, Baltimore, Boston, Philadelphia, they are prime shopping spots for the traders that are carrying goods on the trail. And many of those goods are coming from Europe. It's truly an international trade route. And following the routes of that trade is truly fascinating. And so many miles of that trade is right here in Kansas. So I encourage you to get out and follow those trail signs wherever you find them, and explore the trail. And the geocache along the trail is phenomenal. So that's something you'll really enjoy as well. It's a great way to get the kids involved. Have a great show for you this morning. Stay with us.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
A couple of weeks ago, a photo of a mountain lion carrying a porcupine that was taken in Kiowa County made the media rounds. And it was interesting because we always get a lot of comments on mountain lions and reported mountain lion sightings. But this got more comments about the porcupine and people who did not realize that the porcupine lived in Kansas. And for a lot of you lucky folks who've never encountered one, that's a pretty good thing. For folks like the farmers and ranchers who contend with porcupines on a fairly regular basis, or the veterinarians like Dr. Jake, who've had countless dogs that they've had to take porcupine quills from, they've got pretty ample proof already that the porcupine is here. This is a really interesting creature, so let's take a look at that little porcupine.
For today's wildlife segment, we turn to the annals of Fort Hays State University, which tells us that porcupines are large, slow-moving rodents that can be distinguished from other Kansas mammals by, number 1, a heavy body and relatively small head and ears. Number 2, a thick, muscular tail. Number 3, brownish to black underparts with light yellow guard hairs and yellow barbed spines tipped with black, loosely attached to the skin and concentrated on the rump and tail. Number 4, buffy and spineless underparts. Number 5, broad, orange-ish, maybe kind of red, incisors. And number 6, large feet with naked soles and strong, curved claws. Sexes are alike in color and size, and young ones are darker than adults. I think we would emphasize the yellow barbed spines, for which this rodent is so famous. Porcupines occur throughout Kansas, except perhaps in the southeastern portion of the state. Their sight is poor, but they evade enemies by taking a defensive posture, arching their back to expose their barbed spines and drawing their head partly under their body or forcing it into a protected area against rocks or logs. If a predator encounters a porcupine, the porcupine forcefully slaps its tail against the head of the predator, firmly embedding the spines in the face, lips, and mouth, where they gradually penetrate and may eventually cause the predator's death by starvation. They do not throw the quills. A porcupine's face and belly are the only vulnerable areas of its body, and clever predators can sometimes use this vulnerability to kill a porcupine. This is apparently an art that the mountain lion has perfected. Perhaps we don't see porcupines very often because they are mostly, but not exclusively, nocturnal. It does not hibernate, but in winter, when there is deep snow on the ground, it spends much of its time in the trees. Although porcupines are basically solitary, several sometimes share the same winter den. Winter home range is small, about 5 hectares, but in summer it is larger, up to 14. While in trees, the porcupine may feed on the inner bark. Yes, porcupines do climb trees, so be very, very careful when you're looking up during your walk in the woods. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
Visiting with John Bengesser, resident of Beloit, Kansas, spent most of his working career as a teacher away from that area, grew up in the Wakanda Springs area, which is more or less just south and halfway between Cocker City and Glen Elder, Kansas. The Great Spirit Spring is what the Indians called it. In 1904, the St. Louis World's Fair, it won a medal for its superior medicinal qualities. Then John grew up there. Him and his family operated the springs as a health spa.
Okay, the pool was on top of a cone-shaped mound about 40 feet higher than the surrounding landscape, and it was 50 feet across in diameter, and it kind of rose and fell a little bit with the seasons. Now, a lot of people thought it rose with the tide or rose with the moon, but it was with the seasons of the year. In the wintertime, it would drop about 18 inches, and then in the summertime, sometimes it would overflow. And it's very unique because it looks like it sits on top of a mound, doesn't leak out. It keeps the depth and height there all the time. Back in the early 1900s, the teens and the 20s, it was a very popular place. But now, before it became a medical place, it was kind of a place where people gathered to have fun, picnics and dances and all that kind of stuff. People from all over the country would come for those celebrations. The train that ran through there, people would come for a weekend out of Kansas City and then another one out of Denver, and then they would have a lot of parties and funs. During that time is kind of where things went haywire. It caused things in bankruptcy of some sort, and then that's how my great-grandfather was able to obtain the place. He purchased it in 1906. It was a health spa, hospital type, a 3-story and a large basement, had a 48-room bed for hospital for patients, and then 2 large treating rooms for the patients to take their baths and get their cure. The water from the Wakanda Springs was used in 2 ways. One was through bath treatments, and the other was through consumption, so that they can clean out the system. Yes, the water was pumped to the 2 bathhouses, the women's bathhouse and the men's, and it was used as a method of going from hot to cold. The baths took place with large tubs and high-pressure water from sprays, and then a dip of the cold mineral water and more spray. This went on for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then the people would then soak in the tub at pretty hot temperature, and then they were wrapped in hot packs, hot towels, and blankets for another 15 minutes or so, and then they received manipulation and rub downs, massage. Their treatment was very thorough. Many people received relief from any type of disease or problem that they might have. In about the late 40s, there was some talk that the government might build a dam that would inundate Wakanda Springs. And this talk went on for quite a while. My dad was against this, as well as many other farmers in the area. They got together with the towns of Beloit and Downs and Cocker and Glen Elder and proposed a national monument to the early Plains Indians to be built there in hopes of not having them put the dam in. They campaigned for that for quite a while, and even they had some legislation introduced in the House of Representatives and the Senate for that. The government had kind of made up their mind. They won out on that. The land big sanitarium hospital was bulldozed down. To make matters even worse, they piled all the rock inside the springs, thinking they could cap it off. But they couldn't cap it off. It continued to spew the mineral water all the time.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
The Territorial Capitol Museum in Lecompton has selected 50 of its most beautiful and most historic trees for display this year, making it possible for you to celebrate the season and maintain your social distancing. Visit all of our attractions when you come to Lecompton. Visit both museums and our local shops and restaurants. And Merry Christmas from everyone here.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
If you talk to old-time ranchers in the Flint Hills, as I enjoy doing, you'll hear a saying that speaks to me about the conservation of the Flint Hills. And it supports my view that the best way to conserve and preserve the tallgrass prairie is to keep it in the hands of private ranchers and their families. This poem is called Kansas Flint Hills. In the eastern part of Kansas, a traveler will find a type of ecosystem of a very special kind. It's called the Flint Hills, where you've seen the tall grass grow over endless hills and draws where the creeks and rivers flow. Here ranchers have a saying based on a long-term view: if you take care of the grass, it will take care of you. That means caring for the grassland and managing it best to preserve it for the future in the rancher's long-term quest. It means managing it wisely with controlled, prescribed burns and avoiding overstocking to move the herd by turns. Grazing keeps the ecosystem in balance, as research findings show, just as bison grazed these grasslands those centuries ago. Years ago, some said the government should save the tallgrass prairie as a park or buffalo commons with the cost that would carry. But rather than a park run by the government, the best course is private ownership and long-term management. The best way to preserve these beautiful prairie lands is to keep ranch families on them as they stay in private hands. It's a wonderful lifestyle, though it won't make you wealthy, but the ranchers have incentive to keep the grasslands healthy. Because the ranchers live by these words, which I sure believe are true: if you take care of the grass, it will take care of you. Happy trails.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer and work with you.
The Territorial Capitol Museum in Lecompton has selected 50 of its most beautiful and most historic trees for display this year, making it possible for you to celebrate the season and maintain your social distancing. Visit all of our attractions when you come to Lecompton. Visit both museums and our local shops and restaurants. And Merry Christmas from everyone here.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, this is a time of tradition, isn't it? And so many of our Christmas traditions revolve around food. We get out those old tattered recipe books and scraps of paper that our grandmother scribbled recipes on and drag those out for yet another year of recreating those very special treats. And Michelle has a really, really sweet story for you this morning. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Deb. You are looking sparkle-tastic as always. In Southeast Kansas, many families enjoy making and eating French cookies for Christmas. Today, let's learn more about this holiday tradition. In Southeast Kansas, Christmas means one thing for many families: traditions. One of the tastiest holiday traditions is the galette or French cookie. Each family has their own unique recipe and way of making these holiday treats. For Carrie West, making French cookies connects her to her great-grandmother Angele Godart and her grandmother Maidie Antonetti. When Angele married Francois Pichard and emigrated to Southeast Kansas, she brought her recipe for the delicate cookies that Carrie uses today. Passed down through 4 generations, this recipe is a closely guarded family secret. Each fall, Carrie's kitchen is transformed into a cookie factory. For Carrie, the process begins with assembling the ingredients, mixing the dough, and putting it in the refrigerator to chill. After a day of chilling the dough, Carrie begins the baking process. In the past, women in Southeast Kansas made French cookies on long-handled irons over a fire or on a gas stove. These irons were incredibly popular among families in Arma, Chicopee, Franklin, and Radley. In Arma, the Belgie Manufacturing Company produced the irons, and they're treasured family heirlooms. Today, the galettes are cooked using electric irons that maintain a constant high temperature. Using 3 irons at a time, Carrie can produce 6 cookies at once. Each cookie spends less than a minute on the iron. To ensure that the galettes cook evenly and quickly, the irons need to be hot and properly seasoned. Angele and Maddie rolled walnut-sized balls of dough by hand, but today, Carrie uses a cookie scoop to measure her dough. Once the galettes are golden brown, they're ready to remove from the iron and cool. Carrie's dining table serves as a cooling station for the cookies before they are stacked and packaged for shipping or hand delivery. With 3 irons working in tandem, Carrie can produce almost 500 cookies in a batch. When I worked at Fort Scott Community College with Carrie, she shared her Granny Antonetti's cookies with us. Every December when she dropped them off in the faculty lounge, they disappeared and there were no crumbs left behind. During the holiday season, Carrie shares Granny Antonetti's cookies with people looking for that taste of a time gone by. She takes orders via her Facebook page, Custom Creations by Kay, and has shipped cookies to the four corners of Kansas and numerous states. In her own way, Carrie is keeping Angel's and Maddie's spirits alive with each cookie she bakes.
I don't know about all of you, but now I am craving a French cookie. I hope you enjoyed today's story and that you'll join me next time for another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm Deb Goodrich, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
The Territorial Capitol Museum in Lecompton has selected 50 of its most beautiful and most historic trees for display this year, making it possible for you to celebrate the season and maintain your social distancing. Visit all of our attractions when you come to Lecompton. Visit both museums and our local shops and restaurants. And Merry Christmas from everyone here. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to western Kansas.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.